Have you ever seen a fish that looks like it is always sad? A fish with a drooping face, a soft, jelly-like body, and an expression so strange that the internet once called it the ugliest animal in the world? That creature is known as the blobfish. But what if I told you that the famous image of the blobfish is not the full truth? What if this so-called ugliest fish on Earth is actually one of the most misunderstood animals in the deep ocean? The blobfish is often shown as a strange, melted-looking creature with a face that almost seems human. People laugh at it, turn it into memes, and describe it as nature's biggest mistake. But the truth is much more fascinating and much more unfair. The blobfish does not look that way because it is badly designed. It looks that way because humans usually see it in the wrong place, under the wrong conditions, far away from the deep-sea world where its body actually makes sense. To understand the blobfish, we have to travel far below the ocean surface, into a world where sunlight almost disappears, pressure becomes crushing, and life has to adapt in ways that seem impossible to us. Down there, hundreds of meters beneath the waves, the rules of survival are completely different. A body that looks strange at the surface may be perfectly suited for life in the deep. A face that looks funny to humans may actually be the result of millions of years of adaptation. And the blobfish is one of the best examples of this. The blobfish is not a powerful predator like a shark. It does not have sharp claws, glowing lures, or terrifying speed. It is a deep-sea fish with a soft, gelatinous body, adapted to survive in an environment where the pressure can be dozens of times greater than what we feel at the surface. In that high-pressure world, having a heavy skeleton and strong muscles is not always the best strategy. Instead, the blobfish has a body that is soft, low-density, and energy-efficient. This helps it float just above the seafloor without wasting too much energy. It does not need to swim constantly like many other fish. It can drift, wait, and let the deep ocean do part of the work. This may not sound dramatic, but in the deep sea, saving energy can be the difference between life and death. Food is not always easy to find. The water is cold. The darkness is endless. Every movement costs energy. So instead of chasing prey across long distances, the blobfish lives a slow and patient life. It waits for small animals or edible material to come close enough, then feeds with as little effort as possible. This is not laziness. This is survival. In a world where energy is precious, the blobfish has evolved to live slowly, quietly, and efficiently. But when this fish is brought up from the deep ocean to the surface, everything changes. The pressure around its body suddenly drops. The environment that once supported its soft tissues disappears. And because its body is not built for surface conditions, it collapses into the drooping, blobby shape that made it famous. That image, the sad, melted-looking blobfish, is not what it normally looks like in its natural home. It is more like seeing a deep-sea animal after it has been removed from the very pressure that gave its body structure. Imagine judging a human after sending them into space without protection, or judging a jellyfish after placing it on dry land. That would not show the animal as it truly is. It would only show what happens when a creature is taken out of the environment it was made for. That is exactly what happened to the blobfish. The world judged it at its weakest moment, outside its natural home, under conditions it was never meant to survive. And this is why the blobfish is not just a strange animal. It is a story about misunderstanding. We saw one photograph, one distorted image, one moment taken far away from the deep sea, and we decided that this creature was ugly. But nature does not design animals to look good in photographs. Nature designs them to survive. The blobfish does not need to look beautiful to humans. It needs to survive under extreme pressure, in cold darkness, near the ocean floor. And for that world, its body is not a mistake. It is a solution. Its soft tissues are not weakness. They are an adaptation. Its slow lifestyle is not failure. It is efficiency. Its strange appearance is not a joke. It is evidence of how different life can become when it evolves in a place we barely understand. One of the most interesting things about the blobfish is that it challenges the way we think about beauty in nature. We often admire animals that look powerful, colorful, graceful, or cute. We love the bright colors of tropical fish, the elegance of dolphins, the majesty of whales, and the fierce appearance of sharks. But the deep sea is not a beauty contest. It is a survival test. In that world, strange bodies often make perfect sense. A transparent head can help a fish see in darkness. A glowing lure can attract prey. A flexible jaw can catch food in an instant. And a gelatinous body can help a fish float in crushing pressure without using too much energy. The blobfish may not fit our idea of beauty, but it fits its environment. And that is what evolution is really about. It does not create animals for human approval. It creates animals that can live where they are. This is the hidden lesson behind the blobfish. Do not judge a creature by how it looks outside its world. When we laugh at the blobfish, we are not laughing at a failed animal. We are laughing at a deep-sea survivor that we do not fully understand. We are laughing because we are looking at it from the surface, with surface expectations, surface pressure, and surface ideas of what a fish should look like. But the blobfish belongs to another world. A world of darkness. A world of pressure. A world where soft bodies, slow movement, and strange shapes are not flaws. They are survival tools. And that makes the blobfish more impressive than people realize. It may not be fast. It may not be fierce. It may not look heroic. But it has survived in one of the most difficult habitats on Earth. It lives where humans need machines to visit. It exists under conditions that would be impossible for most surface animals. And it does all of this without drama, without speed, and without looking like the creatures we are used to seeing. The blobfish reminds us that strength can look very different depending on the environment. On land, strength might mean muscle. In the air, it might mean wings. In shallow water, it might mean speed. But in the deep sea, strength can mean softness. It can mean patience. It can mean using as little energy as possible. It can mean letting pressure shape your body instead of fighting against it. That is the strange genius of the blobfish. The same body that looks weak at the surface becomes useful in the deep. The same softness that makes it look funny to us helps it survive where the pressure is immense. The same lack of strong muscles that makes it seem helpless may actually be part of its energy-saving lifestyle. In other words, the blobfish is not ugly because nature failed. It looks strange because nature solved a problem we rarely think about. How to live under crushing pressure, in darkness, with limited food, without wasting energy. That is not failure. That is adaptation. And when you look at it that way, the blobfish becomes much more than a meme. It becomes a symbol of how unfair first impressions can be. It shows us how easy it is to misunderstand something when we see it outside its context. This applies not only to animals, but to the way we look at the world. Sometimes, something appears strange because we do not understand the conditions that shaped it. Sometimes, something looks weak because we are judging it by the wrong standards. And sometimes, the thing people laugh at is actually surviving in a world they could never handle. That is why the blobfish deserves a second look. Not as the ugliest animal in the world, but as one of the most misunderstood creatures in the ocean. Its story is not about ugliness. It is about pressure, adaptation, survival, and the danger of judging too quickly. In its deep-sea home, the blobfish is not a joke. It is simply a fish doing exactly what it evolved to do. It lives quietly above the seafloor, conserving energy, waiting for food, and surviving in a world that most of us will never see. And perhaps that is what makes it beautiful in its own strange way. Not beautiful like a colorful reef fish. Not beautiful like a dolphin leaping through sunlight. But beautiful because it belongs perfectly to a place that is almost impossible for us to imagine. The blobfish is a reminder that nature is not always elegant in the way we expect. Sometimes nature is soft, strange, and almost comical. Sometimes it creates creatures that make us laugh before they make us think. But if we look closer, we often find that the strangest animals have the most interesting stories. The blobfish teaches us that the deep ocean is full of lives that do not follow our rules. It tells us that survival can look weird. It tells us that beauty depends on context. And most importantly, it tells us that a creature should not be judged by what happens when it is taken out of the world it was built for. So the next time you see the famous sad face of the blobfish, remember this. You are not looking at a failed fish. You are looking at a deep-sea animal that has been pulled away from the pressure, darkness, and environment that gave its body meaning. You are looking at a survivor, misunderstood by the surface world. And maybe that is why the blobfish has become so famous. Not because it is truly ugly, but because its story makes us question what ugliness really means. If Axolotl showed us the power of regeneration, Barrel-eye fish showed us the mystery of deep-sea vision. Vampire squid showed us that scary names can hide gentle lives. Goblin shark showed us that frightening faces can be perfect survival designs. And tardigrade showed us the strength of endurance. Then blobfish gives us a different lesson. Never judge a life form outside the world it was made for. Because in the right environment, even the strangest creature can make perfect sense. And if you think the blobfish is already one of the most misunderstood animals on Earth, then stay with us. Because the world of strange creatures is far from over. There are still animals that look like aliens, animals that seem impossible, animals that survive in ways we are only beginning to understand. So subscribe to the channel, and let's continue exploring the weirdest, strangest, and most fascinating creatures on our planet.